Hello there, this is Cookies. I think we're on turn, is it 54? 58. Okay. So this is I pulled up the turn and then I walked away for a little bit. So it's whatever the next one is. It's also been about a week since I recorded the other game, maybe 2 weeks, or like the earlier turns for this particular one. I just finished recording a few turns for the Asphodel series and for the game I'm casting. But let's go ahead and jump through some of this. So in terms of site searching, we do find an unfound door, which is one astral. That's good, but otherwise, not finding a lot. The smolder stone is one fire, all the rest miss. The new global enchantment we put up, though, is really important. That's going to be the highlight of the turn, so I'll go ahead and talk about that now. So the way globals work is there is a base cost. That's just for the privilege of casting the spell. And then there is what's called an overcast. And there's a few different things that contribute to the overcast amount. There's extra gems you put into the spell, where you can put in 100 times the spell level of the mage casting the global for a maximum. And then you get 5 extra for each path above the minimum path needed to cast the global. And then there's also an exploding d20 that you can add in to the overcast as well. And some nations now have grand communions, which add their path levels as overcast. So for Arcane Decree, Kael'thasa does not have grand communions, but they do have, I guess, just a big pearl income from Nexus. And so we put in about 400 for Arcane Decree. And I forget what the base cost is. Can we see here? Okay, so it's 60. So the overcast is probably about 340. Now the base cost for Dispel is about 30. So they would probably want to put in about, to account for some of the fluctuations and not leaving it up to a die roll, they would probably want to put in maybe like 400 on their Dispel. Maybe not that much. So this is a difference of 30. So I think it would be 370 would be about even. Or 330. Or not. Oh, gosh, math. Okay, so Dispel is 30. This is 60. So our overcast is 340. Now they want an overcast of 370-ish, because they'll want to put in some extra to have a pretty reliable shot, and then plus the 30 for the Dispel, so about 400. Right, okay. Now, the issue for them trying to dispel that is Arcane Decree reduces the might of enemy spells by half, which, if I understand that correctly, affects the overcast values. But I haven't done any testing with it. And what that means is they'd likely need about 800 pearls to dispel Arcane Decree. And the bigger thing is for Nexus, the moat that this puts around Nexus is immense. So we did about an 800 cast for Nexus, which is about a 650 overcast. So somebody else would probably want to put in maybe like an extra 30. So they'd probably want to put in 680 for the overcast, plus another 30, so about 710 on the Dispel. But with Arcane Decree up, they'd have to put in over 1400. And so what this does is it provides a moat around Nexus where another team is going to have to dispel Arcane Decree before they can dispel Nexus. And so we've essentially gained control over Nexus in a way where if somebody wants to dispel it, they'll have to dispel this first, which not only gives us a chance to recast it, but it also gives us a warning that we might be about to lose Nexus. So we can maybe control our spending a little bit and pull our pearls to do that global fight. Also, we got a fair number of battles here. We can go through these, see if there's any good ones. Thaumaturgy is cheaper this month. Yeah, so let's go. Now that we've kind of covered the global situation, let's go ahead and watch some of the battles. We've got a Necromancer raid. We've got a pretty big battle here in Trouble Bog, so let's go ahead and watch this. We've got a bunch of Dark Vines. This is the Grand Mictlin stack. We've got a ton of Jaguar Warriors, a ton of Jaguars, but not as many as I think we've seen in the past. A much smaller number of Aussies than we've seen in the past. So I think this army has taken attrition. Now these guys are size 3. The Dark Vines are size 8. So the Jaguar Warriors are going to get caught up behind the Dark Vines and maybe filter around, which might be by intention until they maybe put all the buffs that they want and then maybe add some sort of flight magic. On the other side, we've got Cetis. 2 lines of chariots. We've got some Winter Wolves. A large number of Sauromancers. And a fair number of Shamans. Let's go ahead and see if there's any stuff going on. A bunch of gems on the Mictlin side. We've got a bunch of nature and pearls on the Cetis side. And some death gems. So let's go ahead and just watch the battle. We'll see what happens. Really quick as a reminder, the Bless on Mictlin is Unholy Weapons and Quickness. So I think the thing that we want to see here is what happened to the Rigor Mortis caster for Cetis, because that seemed like his plan for victory. So the Winter Wolves, while normally not working well with Cetis troops, because Cetis troops are cold-blooded, they do have a cold aura, which provides a localized sort of Grip of Winter effect, although if it's hot enough, you might not see much of the aura. We do have Rigor Mortis up, so we can try to find out. So it's this guy back here, and I think what happens is the flyers jump on him because they kill all these kind of worthless militia. Yeah, so here's the rigor mortis caster. So as soon as you see this guy drop, yep, there goes rigor mortis. And there kind of goes the fatigue plan that they were kind of hoping that would work on this army. And then after that, they just kind of get overwhelmed by the sheer number of sacreds from Mictlin. So just not enough skelly spam. So I'm not sure what you do about this as Cetus. Maybe you could burn a really hot communion where you put a Ceromancer or two on a bunch of lizard shamans using a couple of communion gear pieces, and then they're just casting forever. Maybe you can put enlarge and regen and stuff on the communion slaves to try and keep it up a little bit longer. But yeah, this is a much smaller army fighting a much bigger army, but they did cause a fair amount of attrition. So let's go ahead and see what was caused. They kill a Revenant, they kill off about half of the Jaguars, all of the Devils, 15 of 17 Ocelotls, 2 of the Storm Demons, so they've killed off a lot of this stuff. This army still has a fair number of Sacreds in it, in particular more Jaguars and Jaguar Warriors. They only lost 1 of the Jaguar Warriors, but losing 15 Ceromancers and 11 Lizard Shamans is a pretty debilitating loss. But given some time, they can recover, but they might not have a ton of time. And especially with Mictlin on their home island. Alright, let's see. So we've got a huge Merverni stack. Unfortunately, it doesn't fight anything. But with this, we are not seeing the huge mage stacks where it was like 40 to 100 mages that were supporting previous boar stacks. We have some camel riders getting killed by an Olmish force. We've got Hinnom moving on to TNN. Some She-Lords. A Macone stack moving on to Baratos. There is a battle in Ur. So the Ur army that was next door does come back to the capital. So we'll get to see this. So if you remember, this army had a Heat from Hell caster. That caster did get mind hunted, I think, last turn. So we don't have that caster anymore. We did kill a few mages, which is nice. We killed a bunch of Kidnids, a couple of Misushu. We lost a couple of, like a Demon Priest and a Mage retreating into enemy territory, so we're a little bit weaker on that front. Some more raids. I'm not sure if this is worth watching. It's kind of just a large PD dump trying to tread out some of the Olmish troops. Okay. So we can definitely watch this though. So we've got Light of the Northern Star and Storm. Pretty scary Kailasa army. Glad it's on my team. But that kills the Thrice Horned Boar from TNN. We can take a look at what it was doing, I guess. So it's got some earth and nature gems. What's up, pal? Okay. And then we have our battle on we do lose a mage. I think that was a mage right off the bat. We see how Foul Vapors and Quagmire are put up by So a pretty toxic environment for us. The goal that we're hoping to accomplish is killing this Titan. So, and that's because she has the Astral Pass to be able to support a really big dispel attempts. So she holds the key to killing her, makes it harder for the rest of the lobby to try and dispel her stuff unless there's other Astral 9 things running around. So this trying to kill her kind of gave my army a purpose. So, but we are dealing with Foul Vapors. So these Soul Slays are pretty devastating. Every single one cast is killing someone. We do scare off a number of the mages. Now, Dominion 6 has a change where if mages retreat off the field and then you end up winning the battle, they'll still be alive. So they're not dead. And then we get distracted by Howl a bit. So we do a little bit of damage to her, but we don't quite accomplish the main objective. We just kill a bunch of stuff. And this accomplishes a couple of goals. So we've depopulated the armies a bit. So it should make it easier for a Hinnom Kalasa follow-up attempt. The other advantage, though, is now this stuff is off of my upkeep. So I can go ahead and start spending a little bit more freely on infrastructure or mages for Steel Evans to be able to support my allies. So that's pretty nice. And then, yeah, we have got some Boots of Youth, which is nice. Some Troglodytes attack. Okay. So, in terms of our offensive now, so has... The Pretender has protected herself. Now, we've killed a fair amount of stuff in the region. He does have this little stack, but it's not particularly threatening. There's also this TNN stack here. We're going to try and assassinate a commander here. And then there's this large Kalasa stack, and then there's another Kalasa stack down here. Hinnom is just about ready to move out, so he's got stuff here. And then, yeah, over the rest of the continent, we still see the war between... It's definitely the war is swung back in Ulm TNG in the Pan team's favor, fighting the Ubar team. Earlier in the war, Ubar was definitely the aggressor, but now it seems like Ulm's starting to figure out army compositions that work well against Jin. And maybe Ubar hasn't quite figured out how he wants to defeat those Ulmish army compositions. And then we see Mictlin continuing to make progress in this area. So he defended Trouble Bog. But, I mean, there's still some pressure coming from Muspelheim and Macone and Cetis. But the counterattack here is I think at some point was it so Macone's taken this fort, so he's got a stack down here, so there is a counterattack that's being attempted, but there's also a large Baratos army here, so I'm not sure how far it's gonna get. And then here we see the Marverni pressure going up against the Agartha and Femoria teams. And there's also this cracked fort here. So I think that's it for this turn. There's not a heck of a lot going on. So I'll go ahead and bring up the next turn. Really quick, I almost forgot. This is the stuff we're sending out. So if you wanted to see all of the trade that I'm sending out, this is like some of my contributions to the team. And then this is what we are casting. And then this is what we're forging. So yeah, I'll go ahead and bring up turn 59 now. Okay, so I've got turn 59 pulled up. And I just wanted to bring it up to the surface world so I didn't have an awkward transition. Alright, so we found a Rage Flame Tower, which is pretty cool. Also found a First Gate, which is a 10% discount, and that is on a Hinnom Fort. Now the downside is it is not a wasteland, but if he ever wants to summon stuff using some other blood stuff, then that is definitely an option. Okay, so yeah, we get some hits here. Let me see. Where was that augury? So Rage Flame Tower, that's one fire gem. Then we get a huge augury over here on this wasteland. So we find a Desert of Bones, that's 2 gems, access to Sorcerers of the Sand. These are interesting because you could potentially get Winds of Death casters. You can get Magic Phase, Cloud Trapezing mages with air magic. Earth 2 mages are generally useful, and Fire 2 mages can also be useful. So you're pretty much guaranteed a useful mage in some way in the late game. So that's pretty cool. Increases heat as well, which can be interesting. Enchanted Pyre has a fire gem. And we have 5 gems of income out of the Tower of the Golden Order. And also gets access to the Adept of the Golden Order. Now, Kael'thasa already has access to the Adept of the Golden Order because he has the Golden Throne. But if he ever wanted more, could certainly do something with that. And additionally, this province is now worth 10 gems per turn. This is a mega province now. Now, it doesn't have a lot of income, but it has a ton of gem income. In terms of, I mean, it's got the same sort of impact as Mother Oak, but you can't dispel it. So this is absolutely worth forwarding. This is a huge province now. All right. And then we also find a Copper Idol. That's 1 air gem. And we have another bevy of battles. What a fun game mode. All right. So let's see. We go ahead and try to assassinate one of the TNN commanders. So this is a Furbolg champion. We've got our Slayer here. He's got a black bow and a lifelong protection. So imps are starting to take over the tavern. Okay, so it is successful, which is nice. Because of that, I think there's like 60 to 80 things, 50 things left behind. Kael'thasa goes ahead and sits inside the fort, so the TNN army is outside. Hinnom is here, blocking TNN's advance path. So either Hinnom or Kael'thasa could end up fighting this TNN stack. The Kalasa stack moves forward to advance. He's got this lab here, which is helpful. All right. And I think now most of these raids, these Sheet Lords, they've either got Coral Blades or Frost Brands. Normally Frost Brands. So I don't know how many more of these we need to watch. We could see what this Locos has. Maybe he's got some sort of thug kit. Nope. It's not. We could see what happens to this Archon, though. My guess is he gets shot by an arrow. Oh, so he's got the guys on bodyguard. Nope. Alright, so some melee troops come in. And he happens to be in the square. And he did have Phoenix Pyre up, but he was fatigued out, so he just died. Okay. And then... Alright, so we've got a few Enkidu that get cleaned up. Ooh. Alright, so we do get a battle in Zemria. Now, sorry if this kind of spoils some of the results, but I wanted to go ahead and try to do these a little bit faster. Alright, so we've got a whole bunch of Vanheim stuff here. Here's all their kits, so you can check them out. It's a lot of thug kits, Frost Brands, GSSs. Some of them, a couple of them have horror helmets. A couple have dragon crowns, which is interesting. I normally don't use dragon crowns for going into combat. I view them as useful for their dragon mastery, but he might view them as better than nothing. And then he's got a bunch of dream spools on these commanders, so probably a fair amount of glamour magic coming out, and then they'll run into combat. And then he's also got a few of these arch wizards. So these are big air mages and with other significant paths. He's got a lot of temporary gem gens on them for what he wants them to do. So this is a fully mage supported army. This big stack of boars is not mage supported. I'm not even sure if it's going to get blessed. I even forget what the bless is. Attack skill larger and invulnerability. Okay. So here come the boars. Now what this does accomplish is it does reveal the full script of Vanheim. So we see Storm go up, we've got Twilight, Howl, Wrathful Skies. Alright. So I imagine the boars didn't kill much, but we'll have to see. Okay, so maybe the Wrathful Skies killed one of the crystal sorceresses. Goodness gracious, I can't talk right now. Alright, and then we've got Gentle Plains. So this is a TNN raid finding a Kalasa army. So looks like some of the mounts are getting stolen out from under them. Now these were two She-Lord thugs, but they've both lost their mounts. Okay. So in terms of that raid, they kill 2 Angiri and 2 Sacreds, but have 7 She-Warriors stolen. It's still a small downgrade for Kalasa, but getting 7 warriors to help replace them is somewhat nice. Let's see. Then there's Bladewood. So more TNN raiding. We've got an Arco Windrider raid. We've got TNN rolling out with their big army onto Lepentha. We've got a Yaksha Thug, a Kanara Thug, Vampire Lord, and a Yakshini that dies. So I think we've seen a lot of the previous thugs. I think this one was new. So this Yakshini, the big issue for her is she's missing an armor piece. So she's got a ring of levitation. So she's got enough to make it against a small amount of PD, but this is maybe like 10 horse tribe PD. And so she just kind of gets thrown off her game. And then she's also on advance and cast. I don't know if she was meant to meet up with someone somewhere, but she was kind of raiding into this corner. Meanwhile, the Kanara thugs did pretty okay. So they've got more significant kits. This is a Hell Sword with a Chainmail of Displacement. Ring of the Warrior also has a hat, so really nice armor. The Hell Sword has a partial life drain. It hits like a truck. So much tougher thug. This Kanara here is rocking one of the older kits, which is Black Dragon Scale Mail and a Shock Trident, but is also very dangerous. Probably more dangerous to groups, and this one's more dangerous to individual combatants. But yeah, I think that's a lot of it for this turn. We get some brigands, we get some gold. In terms of what we're sending out this turn, this is what we're sending out. Trying to help our teammates. I think the gold going to Hinnom is to help him. Oh gosh, I forget why. Oh, that's right. He was gonna alchemize his fire gems into gold. I was like, please don't do that. So I just sent him gold, and I had him send his fire gems to Kaelasa. And that seems like a more efficient trade, because it lets Kaelasa get more in Gary, and then Hinnom still gets gold, and then like it doesn't really matter on my end. So let's see. And then in terms of forging, this is what all we're forging. And let's see. I think that might be it for this turn, and we'll probably call it for this episode. It's been about 32 minutes. Hopefully you guys are enjoying them. And I think I'll go ahead and record one more right after this. And I think we should get a big fight with the TNN stack. So that should be something to look forward to. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.